Why am I doing this? The only reason I'm doing this video is because of Animal Collective August. I don't really have any passion for this album, and usually I don't make videos about albums I have no passion for. Welcome to part 11 of Animal Collective August, and I really want to tone things down after that last review. Centipede Hurts was a mess on purpose, but still. Get out of here. Just get out of here. Get out of here. Just completely stripping it back today. In the same way Animal Collective really stripped back with Painting With. Once again, it's an album that Deacon is not a part of. He's off finishing his solo album. Peh. But this album's sound doesn't really lend well to Deacon. I honestly have no idea what he could have contributed. It's just not a Deacon album. Painting With still continues Animal Collective's pop era, but compared to Centipede Hurts, they really stuck to the bare essentials. They went from a sound that was so dense and chaotic to a sound that was much more minimal. Almost too minimal, to be honest. Of all of Animal Collective's pop albums, this one seems the most straightforward. It's the least innovative of all their albums, and it feels more like they're just having fun. And I can get wanting to just have a bit of fun, but by this group's standards, it's a bit of a disappointment. This album very much feels like a Panda Bear-led project. Much like with Person Pitch and Merryweather Post Pavilion, you can notice a lot of similarities between this album and Panda Bear Meets the Grim Reaper. Very notably, the vocal hocketing. Hocketing in musical terms is pretty much like musical tennis, where two different elements in the song keep going back and forth to pretty much play the same thing. So with vocal hocketing, that may mean saying every other word in the sentence with someone else. Here, I'll do it just so you know what I mean. Boom! What I just demonstrated is half of this album. Like, they literally do that on half of the songs here. One aspect I do appreciate about the vocals, though, is that there seems to be an equal contribution from Panda and AV, especially in the same song. Most of the time, you usually get Panda tracks and AV tracks, where Panda may be doing background vocals, but AV's still the main singer. But there seems to be a bit more alternation here, which I do appreciate. I'd like to see that carried forward in a better album. And so, compared to Centipede Hurts, I do think it does pop better because it removes all that mess and clutter. The problem is, the music just doesn't feel like it has that much depth to it. It's fun the first few listens, but there's not that much to dig out of it, and you get pretty tired of it pretty quickly. And the problems don't end with its low replay value and forgettability. The entire album's sound is so silly to the point where it just sounds lame. Silly is a good descriptor of this album.
Wow, Painting With. What a silly album.
A part of the influence on the sound was art styles such as Cubism and Dada, which prior to the album's release did get me a bit hyped. I wanted to see how they would interpret that in musical form. I didn't realize that would just amount to random samples like, oh, they said dinosaur on the radio. Haha, the way they keep alternating their vocals in a way where you can't even understand what they're saying. That's so Cubism. Am I right, guys? And then there's this really deep, bouncy synth sound that they use on almost every song. Even on the better songs on this album, I just get tired of hearing that same synth. Like, oh, there it is going wah, wah, wah again. It just feels like there's an overall degree of awkwardness to this album. Like the members are ready to move on to whatever their next phase is, but they're still playing Panda Bear-led pop music for not really any reason. Panda Bear's done some great stuff, and he's definitely contributed very positively on previous albums. But it's very clear here that this time around Panda Bear kinda just became a negative. I'm not gonna talk about every track because boy oh boy some of them are just so unmemorable. But the opener and lead single Flora Dada is definitely one of the better songs. It was a good single and it got me decently interested. I was hyped for an album full of upbeat quirky pop songs like that. Problem is most of the other songs just aren't as catchy, aren't as unique, and they keep recycling the same sounds. For an album that references painting in the title, it just sounds like there's such a limited palette here. How was I supposed to know that the sound palette on Flora Dada was kind of all the album was? Hocus Pocus comes in and then introduces all the vocal hocketing. That's all I can really think to say about that track. It's so unmemorable. I think the track that does the vocal hocketing the best is Lying in the Grass. The hocketing goes really well with the beat in that song, and I wish it worked as well in the other songs that did hocketing. Even still, Lying in the Grass is strong by Painting With standards, but by Animal Collective standards at large, it's not all that good. Then you get The Burglars, which stands out a little more from the other tracks because of how fast the vocals can go. I don't know, man. AV still seems so restrained. Usually AV sounds so passionate and ready to blow, but for most of this album, AV just sounds like he's there. Here I am, guys. Haha, hello. Natural Selection is very straightforward, almost club-oriented in sound. Like Panda Bear trying to be as mainstream as he can be, even though that sound is kind of come and gone. And then there's Bagels and Kiev, which comes off as a more serious song on the album. It used to stand out to me a little, but it's kind of just grown off of me over time. It's good from a collection standpoint, but I'm almost kind of shocked that I even own this album. I mean, I bought it on release, so I only really heard a little bit of it. It was all worth it for this thing, though. I love how they included this even though I got it on CD. Yeah, I'll go nicely with the turntable I'm getting in like a week and a half. Moving on, I feel like On Delay and Golden Gal are two of the other stronger songs on the album next to Flora Dada. On Delay is genuinely catchy in a good way, and I wish I could say that for most of the rest of the album. See, don't get me wrong, I would have liked this album more if it was better. Animal Collective just trying to make a more normal album sounds interesting to me. I feel like they failed with this one, but that doesn't mean they're gonna fail at every attempt. Though I guess maybe normal, by-the-books Animal Collective is just never meant to be. Back on Golden Gal though, because it's very narrowly not my favorite song, that title still belongs to Floridada, it just feels like Golden Gal knows how to pace itself very well. It doesn't feel like a forced rush of energy like a lot of the other songs, and even though it's as minimal as a lot of the other tracks, it feels like it knows how to be minimal and still be very interesting. It's just way more melodically interesting and the lyrics are great. Lyrics essentially boil down to, fellas, we gotta respect women. It's played out in a well done way. It's just a good song. Then you get the closer, Recycling, which is actually pretty strong too. It also encapsulates what the album could have been, stripping back and simplifying things in a good way. The hocketing feels more natural on this song. The somewhat goofy nature actually lends well to the final vocalist segment. It has a sense of fun that I wish rang true with a lot of the rest of the album. Overall, this is definitely Animal Collective's least impressive, one of their least memorable outside of a select few songs. I didn't even mention Vertical, Summing the Wretch, Spilling Guts. They're just there, slapped on. In short, I'd keep Floridada, On Delay, and Golden Gal, but the rest is pretty forgettable, and I don't really ever return to this album. I just feel like I've exhausted my enjoyment out of it, like there's nothing else to get out of it. It's my second least favorite album of theirs, with Dance Humanity still being on the bottom. Because at the very least it's not painful. At least it's unmemorable without high frequencies. And that's it for Painting With. So now we're at a crossroads here for Animal Collective. It is at this point that it really feels like the group has just exhausted their pop era. For a while the group have talked about returning to a more folk-oriented sound as they got older, and after this, many fans hoped that would start happening very soon. Tune in next time to see just how soon that began. It began 2 months later.
I have a Discord, it's pretty funny.